Hello, friends. I wanted to share some unfortunate aspects about living in Ireland. This, of course, doesn't mean that overall this is a challenging place to live, but these are aspects that can be quite frustrating if you live here. And they are just things to be ready for if you're coming here. I'll be talking about these as I drive to my doctor's appointment. I know the weather isn't great for this, and it's not as green as you'd normally see, but it's another reality to what it's like here. Firstly, jobs can be hard to find here in Ireland. Now, of course, this depends on your qualifications and your experience, but just bear in mind, it is kind of a small enough island and there are only so many jobs to be had here. It very much depends on where you are in Ireland. I had lived in Cork where it was much easier to find something, although still not 100% smooth sailing. But now my husband and I live more central and in kind of a farmland, and there are very few full-time jobs here that pay a decent wage. Secondly, it can be a long process in the hiring stage. For the most part, here, a job will be advertised to a certain end date, and you'll hear from them whether you are invited to an interview or not. Sometimes you don't hear back from them at all. I find the interviews a lot more intense here than they would be back home in California. And you also may not hear back for another week or so, sometimes whether the job is offered to you. And then you have to submit all your paperwork and oftentimes a guard of vetting, and this can take up to 6 weeks or more to come back. Now, I don't want to get into trouble here, but you will find that they are very strict on hiring people with a very specific work experience and certification, qualification kind of a thing. However, you will also find that there are a lot of people who get jobs because they have a connection. I don't know that they are technically allowed to do that, but I do know that it does happen quite a bit that I have personally known of. And I feel like it can just make finding a job that much more tricky if you don't have a connection on the inside and if you don't have the very specific qualification and experience. So sometimes you can be quite limited in the job that you're trying to look for. Another struggle is finding a doctor. My husband and I have had to move towns a few times over the years following his job, and each time we've had a big struggle finding a GP. Most places are not taking new patients because they are completely full. We've gotten so desperate a few times that we have had to use after hours clinics, but they are limited in what they offer. And sometimes you just want to have a regular GP that you have that has all your records and everything. So this is just something else to be ready for. It can be a struggle finding somebody. Another harsh reality is that housing can be difficult to find. And I would say this is especially true for renters. The house we live in, we were extremely lucky because I called on it the first day it was listed, and the woman said she had already gotten 14 calls on it that day. And I've heard many other stories of people having to check multiple times a day for places to become available in hopes of being the first one to snatch it. If you're looking to house share with other roommates, what often happens is that the landlord will allow the current roommates to choose the incoming person. So it's not a matter of showing up with a deposit and references, but you have to sit down and basically be interviewed by the current household. And they get to decide whether they want you in the house or not. So I've had situations where I've come in, I thought I was a great fit, I was happy with them. And I said, I would love this place. I have my deposit. I'm ready to go. And they said, whoa, 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 we'll tell you. And in the end, they can decide that they don't want you in there. And if you're looking to share a house as a couple, it can be that extra bit challenging, as many places will even state in their advertisement that they will not accept a couple. But even when it comes to purchasing a house, there's an extra challenge as well. I have heard the story that years ago, when the economy was really not doing well, that a lot of tradespeople left Ireland, and as well, new tradespeople weren't being trained up. So a lot of the new housing and new builds just kind of stopped. So there aren't as many new builds. And as well, if you buy something that needs to be fixed up, which there are a lot of kind of old and dilapidated houses here, but apparently it can be very challenging to find a tradesman, somebody who can come in and help you build up the house. I know houses will be listed, people will put in their offers, and they'll just get completely bid out. So it just seems to be that there is just more demand than supply at the moment and for the last few years and kind of for the foreseeable future, as far as I know. So just be aware of that as well, that when you come over, it can be a little bit challenging to find somewhere to live. Now, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. Overall, there are countless wonderful things about life in Ireland. But when I came here first, honestly, I had stars in my eyes, but you kind of realize it's not really a fairy tale here. There are realities, there are struggles. So this isn't to try and stop anyone from coming, but just some things to be ready for as possible hurdles when you come.